Hello and welcome viewers. You're watching Sansad TV's live broadcast and this is the news at 9 p.m. with me, Bhawna Nayar. And here are the top headlines for this hour. Notification issued for Vice Presidential election. 5 nominations received in first day. July 19th, last day for filing nominations. Voting on August 6th. Odisha tops in implementation of National Food Security Act. Union Minister Piyush Goyal releases state ranking index. Uttar Pradesh second and Andhra Pradesh in third places. ED probe into money laundering charges against Chinese mobile company Vivo. Searches at 44 locations in Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Meghalaya and Maharashtra. Rain alerts in central and western coastal areas for the next 5 days. Normal life disrupted in Maharashtra. And England wins Birmingham Test to win Test series against India in a 2-2 draw. Fifth Test had been postponed due to COVID outbreak. A look at some more important stories of the day in our flash segment. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar takes part in discussion on Modi at 20 Dreams Meet delivery. Asserts that Prime Minister Modi has always advocated neighbourhood first policy. French aircraft engine maker Safran Group CEO Olivier Andres calls on Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Safran is a leading original equipment manufacturer of advanced engines for civil and fighter jets. Union Minister Piyush Goyal stresses India should be #1 ecosystem for startups in the world. Central government has acted as a catalyst for the sector, says Goyal. Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra calls on Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Dr. Ali Baghri. Bilateral relations including progress on Chabahar port discussed. Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to visit Bali, Indonesia on 7th and 8th July for G20 Foreign Ministers meeting. Prime Minister Modi to inaugurate Golden Jubilee celebrations of Assam's Agra Doodh group of newspapers on Wednesday through video conferencing. Migrant workers benefited significantly from One Nation, One Ration card, asserts Consumer Affairs Minister Piyush Goyal. Calls step revolutionary and unique globally. Experts express fears about new COVID variant BA.2.75 found in India. New variant with unique mutations increases chances of infection in people so far protected. NASA satellite the size of a microwave oven moving towards the moon. Space agency calls it another step in plan to land astronauts again on the moon. And Indian women boxers Alfia Pathan and Gitika win gold medals at the Aloda Cup in Kazakhstan. 2 other Indian women boxers K. Srinivasan and Jamuna Boro bagged silver medals. And now the top story of the day. The Election Commission has issued notification for the 16th Vice Presidential election. 5 nominations were received on the first day. No political party has announced its candidate yet. The nomination process will conclude on 19th July. Election will be held on 6th August. The term of incumbent Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu is ending on 10th August. The Vice President is elected by an electoral college. It comprises 788 members, including 543 elected members of Lok Sabha and 233 elected and 12 nominated members of Rajya Sabha. The value of each vote is 1. The election is held in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of a single transferable vote. The voting is held by secret ballot. The nomination paper of a candidate has to be subscribed by at least 20 electors as proposers and by at least 20 other electors as seconders. A candidate can file a maximum of 4 nomination papers. Moving on, the first ever comprehensive study on system improvement in the Rajya Sabha Secretariat has recommended a makeover for quick decision-making and delivery of services in a transparent, monitorable and accountable manner. The study report, with about 130 recommendations, was presented to Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu, who instituted the study in January this year. The recommendations include a clear delegation of administrative and financial powers so that about 75% issues are disposed of at the lower and middle level in the 10-layer hierarchy that exists in the Secretariat at present by eliminating 4 to 5 layers. The report recommends a clear definition of mandate of each of the 64 sections and their reorganization into 14 divisions in order to avoid duplication of work and overlap of mandate to ensure coherence in functioning. The financial power of divisional heads or the joint secretaries has been recommended to be increased from the present ceiling of Rs 1 lakh to Rs 5 lakh with corresponding increase at the lower levels.
Over the last 5 years, Honorable Chairman has taken several initiatives, and he has felt that all these initiatives and the initiatives taken over the years during the last 70 years of Rajya Sabha, they need to be institutionalized, and the gaps that exist in the functioning of the Secretariat need to be addressed. In the report, we have made about 150 recommendations under about 9 chapters.
Odisha has topped the state's ranking for implementation of the National Food Security Act. Uttar Pradesh and Andhra Pradesh are at second and third spots respectively. Gujarat is at fourth place, followed by Dadar and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. Union Food and Consumer Affairs Minister Piyush Goyal released the state ranking index for NFSA 2022 on Tuesday. Tripura topped special category states that include northeastern states, Himalayan states and the island states. Himachal Pradesh and Sikkim are at second and third positions. The report said the states performed well along with the general category states despite logistical limitations.
ये पहली बार स्टेट्स की रैंकिंग हुई है, अब हर साल होगी। ये रैंकिंग प्रोक्योरमेंट के बारे में नहीं है अभी तक। प्रोक्योरमेंट की रैंकिंग हम आगे चल के शुरू करेंगे, उस पे भी हमारा काम चल रहा है। प्रोक्योरमेंट की रैंकिंग अलग आएगी। नेशनल फूड सिक्योरिटी एक्ट के अंतर्गत जो फूड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो रहा है, ये उसकी रैंकिंग है।
The Enforcement Directorate on Tuesday searched 44 places in a money laundering investigation against Chinese smartphone company Vivo and related firms. The searches were carried under sections of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act in several states including Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Meghalaya and Maharashtra. ED filed a money laundering case after taking cognizance of a recent Delhi police FIR against a distributor of the agency. It was alleged that a few Chinese shareholders had forged identity documents. Vivo has said that it is fully cooperating with the ED investigation. And other news from across the country now. Service sector activities are at their highest level since April 2011. They hit a 11-year high in June despite mounting cost pressures. The upturn has come from ongoing improvements in demand following the retreat of pandemic restrictions, capacity expansion and a favorable economic environment. Moving on, bad weather in Pahalgam and Baltal has temporarily halted the Amarnath Yatra. Over 3,000 pilgrims are stranded in Nunwan base camp. So far, 70,000 devotees have visited the Amarnath shrine. A SpiceJet SG-11 flight from Delhi to Dubai made an emergency landing in Karachi, Pakistan after a technical snag on Tuesday. The Directorate General of Civil Aviation has ordered an inquiry into the incident. The Meteorological Department has warned of heavy rain in central India and west coast for the next 5 days. The IMD said heavy to very heavy rainfall is very likely over East Madhya Pradesh, Vidarbha, Chhattisgarh, Konkan area of Maharashtra, Goa, coastal Karnataka and Kerala. Mumbai and its adjoining areas saw heavy rains on Tuesday, resulting in waterlogging at many places, including railway tracks. The IMD predicted moderate to heavy rain in Mumbai and its suburbs over the next 24 hours. An orange alert has been sounded in South Konkan region and Goa, and a yellow alert for northern Konkan, northern central and south central Maharashtra and Marathwada regions. President Ramnath Kovind on Tuesday called up Assam Chief Minister Himant Biswa Sharma and inquired about the flood situation in the state. The Chief Minister apprised the President about the Assam's flood scenario and the ongoing relief and rescue operations. Flood in Assam have claimed 180 lives this year. Currently, over 13.5 lakh people are affected by the floods. The Indian High Commission in Ottawa, Canada, has asked Canadian authorities to remove all controversial material related to the goddess Kali. The controversy broke over the release of the poster of the movie titled Kali by its Indian origin filmmaker Leena Manimekalai. The High Commission in Canada acted after several Hindu organizations objected to the depiction of Kali that they called derogatory to the goddess. The movie had been showcased as part of Rhythms of Canada at Aga Khan Museum, Toronto. The Indian High Commission has also asked the organizers to withdraw all materials that are derogatory to the goddess. Moving on, Twitter has challenged the government's order on removing content from its platform. Seeking the judicial review, it argued that some orders do not comply with the provisions of India's IT Act. Information Technology Minister Ashwani Vaishnav said any company is bound to follow the laws of the country.
कोई भी कंपनी हो, किसी भी क्षेत्र में हो, उसे भारत के कानून मानने ही चाहिए कि देश के पार्लियामेंट से जो भी लीगल कोई भी कानून पास होता है, उस कानून को पालन करना ही चाहिए.
Slipping into a short break here, on the other side, the world's largest giant water lily, whose leaves span up to 3 meters in the wild. All this and much more. Stay tuned to Sansad TV. Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news, and time now for all the main developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. Ukrainian forces in some regions have started using the US high-mobility artillery rocket systems, HIMARS, in their combat operation against Russia. Ukrainian national agency Ukrinform said that Russia continued to bombard Chernigov, Sumy and Kherson region on Monday. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that the reconstruction of his country is the common task of the entire democratic world. Ukraine's Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal laid out a $750 billion post-war recovery plan at the Ukraine's Recovery Conference in Switzerland. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that the European Union will set up a reconstruction platform to coordinate the rebuilding of Ukraine after its war with Russia. At least 345 children have died in Ukraine as a result of Russia's invasion and 644 have been wounded, the Prosecutor General's office has reported. Most casualties were recorded in the Donetsk region, Kharkiv region, Kiev region, Chernihiv region and Luhansk region. Russia's daily air and artillery strikes have reportedly damaged over 2,000 educational institutions across Ukraine. Swedish Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson met Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky in Kyiv on Monday. The two parties signed a joint statement on defense and energy cooperation. Zelensky said he supports Sweden's historic decision to join NATO. He also thanked Sweden for its support. Andersson also visited the surrounding areas of Kyiv and witnessed the consequences of the war. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov discussed the situation in Ukraine with his Mongolian counterpart on Tuesday. On his visit to Mongolia, Lavrov also met with Mongolian President Ukhnay Hursuk. He said that the West is blocking the work of the media, because of which it is unable to provide objective information about what is happening in Ukraine. The 30 NATO allies signed off on the accession protocols for Sweden and Finland on Tuesday. With this, the membership bids of the two nations will be sent to the alliance capitals for legislative approvals. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg called it a historic moment for Finland, Sweden and NATO. The move is expected to lead to the further strategic isolation of Russia. And time now for some other global updates. Sri Lanka will present a debt restructuring plan to the IMF by August to secure a bailout package, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe told Parliament on Tuesday. Sri Lanka is going through the worst economic crisis since its independence in 1948 and needs to at least $4 billion to tide over the acute foreign exchange shortage. An IMF team visited Colombo on 20th June to continue discussions on an economic program that could be supported by an IMF lending arrangement. The IMF warned that the crisis-ridden island nation needs to do more on debt restructuring and step up structural reforms. 6 people were killed and more than 24 wounded in a mass shooting incident at the July 4th Independence Day parade in Highland Park outside Chicago, Illinois. The U.S. police have arrested a 22-year-old after a manhunt. Schools, churches, grocery stores and now community parades in the U.S. have all been killing grounds in recent months. U.S. President Biden said he was shocked by the latest incident.
6 people have passed and others are wounded. But we got a lot more work to do. We got to get this under control. But having said that, I just want to keep just a slight moment of silence for all those families.
Moving on, the Italian government has declared a state of emergency related to the prolonged heat wave and drought conditions that have badly hit the country, particularly its north. Here's the report.
Italy is facing its worst drought in 70 years. Prime Minister Mario Draghi met his ministers on Monday to discuss the possibility of declaring a state of emergency in various regions of the country that are badly hit by drought. 5 Italian regions have requested state of emergency status. One of these is the Lazio region, through which runs Rome's Tiber River. Plants are growing on the surface of the river bed and debris is floating in the shallow waters. An Italian artist has taken advantage of the barren fields to produce works of art with environmental messages. Dario Gamberin created his artwork on dry wheat and corn fields in the Veneto countryside using a tractor, plow and a rotary harrow. On the first field, he carved out a huge drop of water enclosing a globe. On the second, he wrote the word water in massive letters on a dry corn field. Gamberin has called the works Save Water and the Scream of the Corn. According to the Italian research group CNR, this year Italy has had half the average rainfall of the past 30 years, having devastating effects on agriculture. Last week, Draghi left the NATO summit early. He said the reason was the devastating drought in northern Italy that has dried up rice paddies, shriveled grazing grass for cows and threatened summer harvests of fruits and vegetables. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And more updates from across the world. New York celebrated the 246th year of U.S. independence on 4th of July. The big celebratory parade in United States, the annual Macy's Parade, had firework displays as the highlight. Over 65,000 shells and effects were launched from 5 barges positioned on the East River. Scores of people waited for hours at various viewpoints across the city just to see the fireworks. Somalia is reeling under its worst drought in decades. Makeshift camps on the outskirts of Mogadishu are filing up with people in search of survival. But the camps have nothing to offer except a little bread and black tea. The famine has ravaged a large part of the country. With no humanitarian arriving, disruptions in the global food supply are emerging as a huge concern after the COVID pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Chinese Foreign Minister announced about China's planning to build a special economic zone by connecting China, Laos and Thailand via rail network in Thailand. This network will be the other end of its Belt and Road initiative, linking it all the way to Europe. Wang's visit is part of a 5-nation tour in Southeast Asia. After Thailand, he will visit Indonesia, the Philippines and Malaysia. Southwest Pakistan is dealing with heavy rains triggering flash floods. At least 6 people, including children, were killed when their homes collapsed in heavy rains. The death toll could be higher as many people are missing in southwestern Balochistan province. Since June, rains killed 38 people and damaged over 200 homes across Pakistan. Heavy rains impacted 50,000 people in Sydney, with many streets, highways, homes flooded. Days of torrential rain have caused dams and waterways to overflow, bringing a fourth flood emergency to parts of the city of 5 million people. The New South Wales government declared a disaster across 23 areas overnight, activating government assistance for flood victims. Evacuation orders have been upped to 50,000 residents. Researchers at London's Royal Botanic Gardens have discovered a new species of giant water lily that was growing under their nose thousands of miles from its wild habitat in Bolivia. The Victoria boliviana is now recognized as the largest water lily in the world, with leaves growing 3 meters wide in the wild. Here's the report.
Researchers at Kew's Royal Botanical Gardens have long suspected that one of their 3 giant water lilies looks different. The Victoria boliviana was first brought to Kew in 1852. It was named after Queen Victoria. Specimens have been in Kew's herbarium for 177 years and in the National Herbarium of Bolivia for 3 decades. A few years ago, researchers from both institutions began to collaborate to discover if it was completely different species of water lily. They compared DNA samples that confirmed the plant was a new species. The report in the journal Frontiers in Plant Science says something caused Boliviana to evolve differently 1 million years ago. Water lilies are one of the oldest flowering plants on the earth. They grow at a tremendous rate. The flower on the water lily that grows in the tributaries of the Amazon have a very specific function. It aims to capture beetles, so they produce a lot of heat. This attracts the beetles, and when they go in the flower, closes around them. After a day, it opens up and releases the beetle, which by this time is totally covered in pollen and will visit another plant. Kew is the only place in the world where 3 species of Victoria giant water lilies are seen side by side. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And now let's see what's happening in the world of sports. Starting with cricket, Joe Root and Johnny Bairstow scored majestic centuries as England pulled off their highest ever successful run chase in the longest format for a convincing 7-wicket win over India in the rescheduled 5th test today. England overhauled the 378-run target in the morning session of the 5th and final day, with Root and Bairstow remaining unbeaten on 142 and 114 respectively. England's win meant that 5-match test series, which spilled over to this year's due to COVID-19 cases in the Indian camp last year, ended in a 2-2 draw. Player of the Edgbaston Test, Johnny Bairstow hit 2 centuries in the match. He was not out on 114 in the second innings, while he had hit 106 off 140 balls in the England's first innings. Such has been Bairstow's form that the Englishman has hit 4 centuries in the last 3 tests itself. Meanwhile, England chased down a target of over 250 in the 4th consecutive test. The earlier 3 being against New Zealand, 277, 299, 296 in their 3-0 home test series win last month. Joe Root and Jasprit Bumrah were declared the players of the series from their respective sides. While Bumrah took 23 wickets in the series and played a couple of good knocks with the bat, also smashing 29 of the 35 Stuart Broad conceded in the Test cricket's most expensive over. Root, who was the English captain in the first 4 tests of the series, scored 737 runs at 105.28 with 4 hundreds. Sania Mirza and Mate Pavic of Croatia overcame the 4th-seeded pair of Gabriela Dabrowski and John Pierce to reach the semi-finals of the mixed doubles event at Wimbledon. The Indo-Croatian seeded 6th won 6-4, 3-6, 7-5 in the close battle. Sania, who is playing her last Wimbledon, reached the mixed doubles semis at Wimbledon for the first time in her career. Sania's powerful forehands causing her opponents all sorts of problems. Rafael Nadal swept into the Wimbledon quarterfinals, staying on course for a crunch meeting with Nick Kyrgios. Nadal, chasing a rare calendar Grand Slam, is hunting a third Wimbledon crown. He beat Dutch 21st seed Botic van de Schoonsool 6-4, 6-2, 7-6 in the women's competition. 2019 champion Simona Halep demolished Spanish 4th seed Paula Badosa in just 60 minutes to set up a meeting with Amanda Anisimova. And before we wrap, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Notification issued for Vice Presidential Election. 5 nominations received on first day. July 19th, last date for filing nominations. Voting on August 6th. Odisha tops in implementation of National Food Security Act. Union Minister Piyush Goyal releases state ranking index. Uttar Pradesh second and Andhra Pradesh in third places. ED probe into money laundering charges against Chinese mobile company Vivo. Searches at 44 locations in Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Meghalaya and Maharashtra. Rain alerts in central and western coastal areas for the next 5 days. Normal life disrupted in Maharashtra. And England wins Birmingham Test to end Test series against India in a 2-2 draw. 5th Test had been postponed due to the COVID outbreak. And that's all we have in today's news. For more updates, keep watching Sansad TV. See you tomorrow. Good night. Namaskar.